Hi, this is Jules, and I'm your host of The Jules J Show. Hey everyone, I'm your host Jules of The Jules J Show. Thanks for tuning in. Today I have a very special guest with me, Mr. George Cole. How are you?
Doing great, Jules.
I've actually worked with him in the past, and today I wanted to bring him to my show because I'm always talking about saving money, clipping coupons, mortgages, things like that. But I figured it's best to get an actual guru on the show
Okay.
to kind of give people some insight about how critical it is to keep up with their credit, to stay on top of their credit. If they do have credit issues, how to go about repairing them. And if they don't know what to do, there's actually services like the one you offer that's available for you. So this is George Cole from National Credit Education Services. And basically, give us a quick synopsis of what it is that National Credit Education Services actually does.
Well, I think it's very important, Jules, that number one, we educate our clients, that our clients understands how credit works,
right?
How credit affects them, the do's and don'ts about credit, how to accelerate your interest, how to buy a house, what kind of mortgages you get, how to buy a car, how to accelerate that interest, how to understand how the FICO system works whenever you get credit cards. How do you use them? How do you maintain your balances? Do you close them after a period or do you leave them open? There's so much to know about credit because credit is a mathematical science of a creation that FICO created to help people to show a credit worthiness.
Right.
That score is no joke. That score states to anyone who's taking a look at you who you are.
Right.
And therefore, there's a lot of behavior modifications in there that creates a credit score. So people need to know, without good credit, you can't get a job, you can't get promoted, you're going to pay higher car insurance, you're going to pay more for utilities, deposits on cable, on everything.
Power, gas.
All of that.
Water, everything. That's a lot of times, when you're filling out things and they ask for your social security numbers because they're getting ready to run a credit check on you.
Absolutely.
Because what you guys don't understand is they look at your credit history, and if you're paying on time, and that they basically feel that you're credit worthy or you're trustworthy, and that you're going to be able to maintain those payments and pay on time and things like that. Now, you guys, let me just give you a quick synopsis of what their mission is. Provide education on the pitfalls of credit.
That's right.
Leverage credit to build assets, not liabilities.
100%.
I think a lot of people have more liabilities than they have assets at this point in time.
Absolutely.
And empower clients to navigate their finances with confidence. I think people get overwhelmed with finances. You know what I mean? So many people within our culture, they're quick to say, oh, I just got paid, or I actually got a bonus, and, they're basically want to go out and ball out of control or go buy this or buy that, where, you're confident in the pair of shoes that you just bought, but not in anything else.
Right.
So I think that's really, really important that, we are able to kind of give them some insight with this segment about what the do's and don'ts, things of that nature. So it's a financial education. So give us a little, insight about the financial education part.
Well, I just basically was just melting over here listening to you, talk about what we do when we get a bonus.
Right.
And it's such a travesty, but I was melting because you're bringing it to the front, and I think that's important for people to know. That's all temporary satisfaction,
right,
by getting something. And really, what statement is it saying about you? There's nothing wrong with having a beautiful purse, a Prada purse, but then when you go to pull out your debit card, it's denied, and then the cashier's looking at your Prada purse
like a fool.
Right. And the people behind you.
Exactly.
So they know exactly what you're about. And so the thing about it is, to me, what gives me gratification is if I can take that bonus of $2,500 or $1,000, if I can buy something and flip it.
Right.
Like a old Honda Accord that somebody want to sell.
Exactly.
Pay $1,200, I get $2,400. Then I put my money back into the game again to find another Honda or something like that. Or to go into E-Trade or Scottrade and buy me some good stock. They're talking about robots taking over manufacturing cars. Then find out who is the number one manufacturer of those robots and buy that stock. Mm-hmm. They're talking about robots work for $3.12 an hour. They're not late. They come to work on time. They don't talk back. And they last for 5 years, cost $21,000, and averages up to $3.12 an hour. Find out who makes those, because people are going to start driving their money towards those. So what we have to do is learn how to create a variety of assets. You know, when you apply for a credit card, they ask, do you only have a checking account, or do you have a checking and savings? Mm-hmm. Then they ask, do you have any financial planning? Do you have a 401k? Right. Do you have any stocks? And the more you can say yes, 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 right. And the more that you can put numerical numbers in there, even if it's no more than $1,500 in stock, mm-hmm. even if it's no more than $5,000 in 401k, even though there's no more than $750 in your savings, even though you don't carry more than a $300 checking balance. But what it does, it shows that you are a saver and you're beginning to save, and it shows a behavior that you're not going to be behind and that you have a little reserves. So what we have to do with extra money is to make sure that we're trying to double down on it and try to make some money off it, instead of giving it to people who don't really like us. And then people that's going to laugh at you when you walk out the store and say, what an idiot. Right. You know what I mean? And you don't really have that job to portray that. I think being a bit conservative and learning how to hold back, it builds character within. Because when you say no to yourself, you're saying no to your chemical makeup in your mind. Right. And you start creating new thinking and new behavior to start saving, because sometimes that great house could come up and all you need is 3% down, or you might be a part of Fulton County or Atlanta Dream or some kind of program. We're only requiring $1,000, but you just spend it on the purse.
Exactly. So, and I think a big thing is, like, I know growing up, nobody taught me about financial stability. Nobody taught me about opening a checking account. I opened my first checking account when I was 16 on my own. I had a job, things like that, and I wanted someplace to put my money, because I've always, seen people cash their check. Sure. Cash it. But when you have money on hand, what you do, you end up spending it. Absolutely. So I think it's really important that, us as adults and parents and things like that, we start teaching, our children about how to save and things like that. I know both of my kids, when they get $1 in their pocket, they want to go to the candy lady. Mm-hmm. But what I started doing with them is whatever they get, whether it's because of report cards, gifts, things like that, they have to put at least half of it aside. Good. And they're not allowed to touch it. Good. Because I'm the one that controls it. And it just rises and rises. So whatever you do with their money, the other half, once it's gone, it's gone. And then they start realizing, well, I don't have no money, so I can't go to the movies, or I can't go to this, or I can't, because they don't have it. But I think one of the downfalls is people don't really educate others about money. That's right. They don't. What you educate them on is going buying the hottest item, or living paycheck to paycheck, or, oh, well, you may not have money on your debit card, but let's swipe the credit card. And either way, you're going to have to sit there and pay it. So I think, a lot of times the messages that have been conveyed are completely opposite of what it should be. So let's talk about some of this. Credit counseling. One of the things you do is help consumers create a plan of repayment due to hardship. Elaborate on that a little bit. Well,
basically, if you have been paying your bills on time and you run into a certain scenario to where one of the spouses get laid off, or you get a reduction of pay, or whatever may have happened, now all of a sudden that house payment is still due. That car payment is still due. Right. And credit cards are still due. And so the bottom line is, you in a hardship. But if you've been paying these people on time while you were making money, then a lot of times these folks, number one, the car dealer, you would just write them a certified letter or contact them and ask them, can I pay you $200 a month for the next 6 months versus the $400 payment? And with the mortgage company, you can ask them to put 2 payments on the rears to where you can begin to catch up. They'll do that for you because you've had a good payment record and different things like that. Now, those are hardship letters. But I tell you, I got something that'll beat a hardship letter. When you understand how interest works, and when you go to buy a car or get a house, what you want to do is set up a split payment.
That's how I have my mortgage.
Come on, man. That's what I'm talking about. You want to set up a split payment, because what that does, it accelerates your interest. A split payment, even if your mortgage is $1,000 a month and you pay $500 every 2 weeks.
Add extra to it.
Right, right, you don't even have to add extra to it, but if you do, that's even better.
Yeah.
And so, and add extra to the first payment, not the second one, because see, interest is accrued if you use it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I only use 15 days of your interest, then the rest of that's going towards principal.
Exactly.
And then the other 500 is mostly principal. So therefore, after you have paid that note like that for 2 or 3 years, you've paid your note up about 8 months
exactly.
in advance. So if something happened, you got 8 months off if
exactly.
you have to. Then they're going to put that interest back. But now you have just became your own lender.
Right.
Instead of trying to go out and borrow against something you're already negative on and putting yourself further in the hole. And the same thing with a car. And so just by splitting a payment without even adding any extra to it, it takes 9 years off a 30-year mortgage, and it takes almost 4 years off a 15-year mortgage.
Yeah.
So then you can pay your house off in like 11 years and not be in debt. And then whenever something happened, you just became your own lender because you have reserves in your own property.
Oh, definitely. I think the big thing is, a lot of times when you're working, you come up on a hardship. People don't know that you can do that. They just say, well, I don't have it, so I'm not paying it. When you're hurting your credit at that point in time, instead of, and I understand, you might be embarrassed, things of that nature, but you're going to have to suck that pride up.
Pick up the phone.
And pick up the phone and make a call. And that's all it is. They can tell you yes or no.
That's right.
And if they say yes, then, I mean, that's like bricks off your shoulders. And, I did the split payment when I had my car. Before I paid it off, and I paid it off like that.
That's
just because I'll never have another car note again, though. I promise you. I don't want that. But I've done the same thing with my mortgage, and I've actually told that trick to a couple people, and they had no clue that they could do that until they called the lender. And the lender was like, "Yeah, not a problem." Right? You have to call and inquire about it, but not a lot of people know that at all. And like I said, that's there's just little certain things that people can sit there and like yourself and tell them that they probably don't even know.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing. They also help consumers create budgets, which is something that not a lot of people do. They live a lot of, paycheck to paycheck, or they don't pay themselves first, which means automatically having money go into a savings account, things like that. So when the money's gone, it's just gone. Help consumers see their financial state isn't as bad as they think, because they have a different set of eyes looking at it. They're able to examine things from a different point. And you're probably able to tell them some stuff that they had no clue that they could actually do, or they think they can't do because they don't understand money.
Right. And so, I mean, the whole bottom line is we want people to understand how their money flows. If you don't put a target on how much money that you need per month, then you're going to blow a lot of your money.
Definitely.
And so you got to put a mark on your money. So if it takes you $2,200 to exist, you got to know that, look, okay, here's my rent, here's my mortgage, here's my car payment, here's my car insurance, here's my groceries, here's everything that it takes me to exist, my gasoline, my dry cleaning, my Starbucks. Okay, this is my basic right here, my cable. So now it comes out to $2,200. You're earning $4,000 a month.
Right.
Why is it that you get overdrafts, and why is it that your credit cards is maxed out too? Because you're not watching your spending.
Exactly.
So once you write it down and you say, whoa, it's only $2,200 it takes me to exist, and I'm bringing home $2,000 every 2 weeks, then what you have to do now is say, I'm going to find out how much money do you want to blow during a week's time. Is it 100, 150? Okay, so say if it's 125. If it's 125, then that's $500 onto 2,700. Onto 22 makes 27, and you got 1,300 you could be putting away.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you got to write it down. You got to find out what your nut is. If you don't find out what it is, then you're going to continue to blow all that good money away. And when you're able to put that kind of money away, $1,300 over 12 months, that's like $16,000, $17,000 that you can have. That kind of money over 5 years with compounded interest, you can easily have $100,000.
Yeah, and it's just a matter about being disciplined.
Right.
They can also help you figure out if bankruptcy is right for you. Sometimes you don't need bankruptcy, and sometimes you are seeking out the wrong bankruptcy. So definitely stay tuned. We have some more information when we come back from break. Okay? here with my host, George Cole, and we're going to go ahead and keep talking about some of the credit issues. Now, National Credit Education Services is also key at helping you restore your credit. And when I say restore, I have been there. When I first got out of high school and I was on my way to college, I got all type of credit card notifications and I was signing up left and right, and I was a single mom with a kid, and I was like, okay, this will help me get through making minimum wage, things like that. But because nobody taught me about credit, like, I got sucker punched. And it took me a long time to kind of climb out that hole because I had to kind of figure out things on my own. I didn't have the resource like some people can have with you and, you know, the stuff that you're doing. So with that, they are helping customers negotiate with collection agencies. A lot of people think either I have to pay this or forget it, I'm not going to pay it. But they actually have some options there with the collection agencies.
Absolutely. It's powerful options, and people don't realize that people are doing bankruptcies for stuff that they don't even have to do. I mean, there's a statute of limitations of that. Since, you know, this is a nationwide show, but just to give you an example, here in Atlanta, here in the state of Georgia, the statute of limitations is 4 years. Mississippi, 3 years. Maryland, 3 years. New York, 6 years. California, 4 years. What the statute of limitations mean is that if you did not properly collect that debt within that time period, and you done harassed me, I didn't add the repo, I didn't have 3 or 4 collections added on, couldn't buy nothing for them 4 years.
Right.
How long is it that you're supposed to keep me down?
Right.
You can't. You have to release people out of this situation so they can rebound and continue to add to society. If not, then I'm not going to add to society. I'm going to hide because somebody trying to garnish my wages.
Right.
So, but if that time is expired and it has not created a judgment, has not created a garnishment, then you're free of that debt. But you got to know what to do. And we teach on that. Then we also teach people sometimes the best time to negotiate with the collection agency, if it is within the statute of limitation, you should contact them like the next to the last or last day of the month. They're just like a car salespeople. That's when you get the best
End of the month, they have to meet their goal.
They got to meet their quota.
Exactly.
You know, exactly. And so that's the best time. You need to have cash money. Cash money, it works. But before you pay them with your debit card or with your checking account, make sure that you get that deal in writing that this is it. They are settling for less than the amount, or say that it's full paid or whatever it is. But make sure you get it in writing. If you don't get it in writing, you pay them, you could be creating a cardinal mistake.
Now, let me ask you this. Okay, now let's just make sure we remember that if you are going to negotiate, make sure you negotiate the end of the month.
Right.
Number 2, let me ask this question because I'm sure other people would like to know this. Let's say that it's the statute of limitations is 4 years. You start negotiating with them 3.5 years in. Does that new statute, does it start over? Or at 4 years it's just done and there's nothing else? Yeah,
it's 4 years. If there was no payment made, if there was a payment made, then the statute of limitation starts from the point where that payment
is made. Okay. So that's one thing that I'm sure a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And there's rules and laws about repossessions that there's so much on how the creditors have to deal with you legally to protect you within the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. On even though you got a repossession, you're still under the protection of this law that they have to do certain things to really collect on that debt. But if you don't know the law, they're going to get you.
Oh, every time.
So we constantly educate on all aspects of credit. We are not a credit repair company. We're a restoration company. But more so, we're an education company. We know how to do the magic.
Right.
Magic's done. But I don't want to do the magic and put you back in the same situation.
Right.
So I want you to be strong, credit-wise, where you just continue to grow. And as things come at you, you know what to do. And if you forget what to do, then you can come back and we could be that resource. Or we constantly have national educational calls every Monday and Wednesday to educate.
Right. And before we leave out of here today, we're going to definitely go over some of the things that how they can get the information and things like that. So they also do debt management, which includes mortgage, student loans. Now, I just did a show about student loans and things like that. Right. Auto, credit cards, things like that. And I think that's a big key is the debt management, understanding what you owe, and not only that, understanding that making minimum payments is not going to get you anywhere at all. And unless you understand, right? Unless you understand, the interest and how it's calculated, you're going to always forever owe something, somebody.
That's right. You got to know, again, I think that falls back onto understanding how interest works, how to accelerate that, and then how to get yourself on paying a little extra, and then also putting yourself in a situation to where you stop using those cards. And you have to understand those credit cards are for use to be able to try to make money with, not to recklessly or frivolously spend money. Because, if a deal comes up, like that Honda Accord again, you got it on your credit card to get it. You know what I mean? Then you flip it and then turn around and pay the credit card back off. And then you still got $1,500 to work again. Or if you have business travel, then you can make your trip, book your hotel. Because you go book a hotel with a debit card, what happens is that they're going to secure all this money on this card. And even though you check out, that money's still secured, $250 or whatever. And it don't get released to 72 hours later. But with a credit card, it's instantly released. So you need credit cards to be able to travel, do business. And it doesn't matter what kind of credit card you get. You can start with a secured credit card. It doesn't matter. A secure credit card doesn't hurt your score. It's about how you pay the credit cards.
Right. And, another thing with like the student loans and things like that, make sure if you're in a situation where you cannot pay, make sure you defer the loans. Just don't ignore it. Because one thing I always tell individuals anytime I'm talking about student loans, finances, things like that, if you owe the federal government money, any type of money, trust me, you're not going to be able to get anything from them, whether it's, job, loans, whatever the case may be, just because you owe the federal. And it's you might think $25, I'll make it up sooner or later, but once you have all those late payments on there, they go 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120. It's a hard thing to get out of. Individuals that are first-time home buyers, if you have a late payment, they want to see from that payment 6 months, 9 months, whatever the case may be, of on-time payment history. So definitely understand that, when you're going through those processes, all those things will really, really, really hurt you.
And then know that President Obama passed these laws, one against debt collectors and how they're doing business. So we got protection there. And he also passed the laws to make student loans affordable. I see people now negotiate their student loans with federal government or state for as little as $3 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month.
I need to negotiate mine now.
I mean, it's not going to reduce the principal, but it'll give you that payment to stop the bleeding, like you were talking about, to start getting okay, or pay as agreed. So, and I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, especially if you have all these individuals with these higher degrees and masters and MBAs and things like that. And right now, there are still a lot of people that are unemployed, but you still have that student loan regardless.
Right, that's right.
So, if you're able to negotiate to kind of alleviate some of that, that's something that you should definitely look into. And if you don't know where to start, then definitely George Cole is the person for you.
That's right.
Like I said, his contact information will be available for everybody to reach out. Now, I went to your website, and you guys have a lot of nice tools on there.
Oh, thank you very much.
Like they have several different calculators that you can use to kind of figure some things out. They have a 401k, auto loan, cost of living, debt to income, retirement, things like that. Oh, yeah. Because a lot of times you can sit there and talk to somebody, but until they calculate it and actually see the number for themselves, it's almost like a aha moment.
Yes, indeed.
It really is.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we want our site to be interactive. We want it to be fun. We want it to be cutting edge, and we want it to be different, and to really not to give, eye candy, but to give real practical knowledge that's going to take somebody to another level. So, and I believe too, people have to be careful about, who they choose to do credit restoration.
Definitely.
Because there's some real chop shop situations out there that, and your credit report is created from algorithms. And again, it's a mathematical science of how FICO creates your score. So if somebody turns around and starts deleting everything, then guess what you have? No credit.
Exactly.
And you're 45 years old with no credit. And that's worse than bad credit.
Yeah, but I'm saying a lot of people don't think that, I don't have any credit, I'm okay. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're really not.
You're in bad shape. At first you think it's cute. Oh, man, they did a good job. Then you go to try to buy something, And they like, you don't have no credit. I can't say anything. Oh, but I had a car. It only had 6 late payments. It wasn't no repo. I paid it off, but it's gone. I had a house. I mean, me and my spouse got divorced. There was some late payments, but we sold it, but it's not there.
Right.
So you talking to a ghost. So you're really talking and communicating to somebody that none of this information is there. And now all of a sudden you realize they did you wrong.
Exactly.
See, and again, what we try to do is reverse those items to get them to come back and show paid as agreed, zero balance, and keep the length of history. Those are the key components to creating and developing a score.
Exactly. And for you guys to understand that you definitely want to have paid as agreed
That's
versus
right.
Nothing.
That's right.
Because at least it shows that you have followed through.
Yeah, you follow through.
You follow through, so therefore that goes back to your credit worthiness or your trustworthiness, a responsibility as a person. And that's really what this really ties into, is making sure that you are saying that, yes, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to pay this like I said I was. It's all about your word. A lot of times, you go back and say my word is my bond. Well, this is it on paper, basically.
Right. That's what it is.
So you also hold webinars on a weekly basis.
Sure.
Tell them a little bit about the webinars, because it's something that can really help a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, webinars, you can see them now at live stream. NCES live training.com.
And we'll also put that down for people to get.
And so basically, it gives a full disclosure of credit. It gives the laws of credit. It gives about the collections. It gives about FICO. It shows about liability versus asset credit. And it goes into budgeting. It goes into everything. And it's really detailed, and it's really going to help you. And I would sit down on a Saturday morning, if y'all ain't doing that, it's raining outside, instead of watching the DVD, watch NCSLiveTraining.com and really get it. And get it inside your soul. Get it inside your spirit. And raise our game up, because it's time to change the way that we think about ourselves. And the way that we think about ourselves, and then it starts instituting new behavior. And then when you go into the bank, the folks come and look at you, oh man, goes somebody with bad credit. And then they're like, whoa, you don't have bad credit. Then somebody else come behind you, and it's the same scenario. So now all of a sudden they don't think that you second chance financing no more.
Right.
That because we're beginning to raise our game, and we're getting credit awareness, and we're able to start using our talent to really start magnifying our business skills and our business opportunity, making more money, being able to compete more in America, to leverage, to get contracts and everything else. We have the finances. We understand what it is. It's not hard to get business credit. Business credit is tied into your personal credit. You get your personal credit right, it becomes your guarantor for your business credit. Then you're starting to create business credit on all three, on the Experian side of how they score, the TransUnion side how they score, on Experian side, and also on the PAYDAC side, which is Dun & Bradstreet. So there's more than just Dun & Bradstreet that's looked at as a scoring module in credit in business. There's 3 of them plus Dun & Bradstreet. So, it's very important to get that personal piece. So, whatever it is we can do for you, we're going to get it done.
Yes, he will. So once again, we definitely want to thank you for, coming on the Jules J Show. You've been very, very enlightening. And I think for anybody that has any questions, are concerned about their credit, trying to plan for their future, especially the younger generation, if you don't know what path you should be on, or if you know that you need to be on a path, but you need to figure out how to get there, this is definitely the individual that you need to reach out to. His name is George Cole. His office number is 770-952-5168. And we will also make sure that we put his email address and on the website up for them to be able to reach out to you. Now, do you still hold group sessions and things like that? If they're available?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Usually on Saturdays at the office, and then on Monday and Wednesday nights we also hold live training calls to where we educate like we did some today. Then we open it up for a few questions and comments, testimonials, and then we go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay. So once again, if you have any questions about your credit, how to restore it, how to maintain it, debt collection, bankruptcy, debt management, whatever the case may be, this is the money guru that you need to go to. Not me.
Pretty
Him.
good though, Jules.
It's all because I've been there, done that.
Yeah,
I understand. Right. I've been there, done that. It was a hard uphill battle, but now that I'm out of it, I do whatever it takes to keep my credit as it is and things like that. So I understand. So once again, we definitely thank you for appearing on So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to me at JulesJ1878 at gmail. Thanks for tuning in.